Somewhere deep inside, something's got a hold on you.
Neil, Finn, Nick Seymour, lovely to have you on the program.
Nice to be here.
How are the rehearsals going so far?
Very well. We camped out in my studio in Auckland for 3 days and 4 days, and really ran through a master list of about 35 songs, most of which were extraordinarily familiar still. Like, the muscle memory is intact, the brain's still working, thankfully, and there's always some amusement to be had by people messing things up. So
Is that you? Is that a pointed remark at you, Nick?
Maybe. No, we're even, aren't we? Fairly much.
keeping score a little bit. We did a webcast the other night, and in Don't Dream It's Over, which we both normally play brilliantly. I messed up my guitar solo, and then very soon after, Nick was kind of looking at me slightly pleased with himself. He messed up as well, so I sort of said 1-1.
How do you strike the balance when you're picking a song list between what you would like to play and what you think the audience would like to hear?
Often it's creating a dynamic. If you're looking at a set list, you're sort of pacing how the actual set will, and then you start actually making decisions about what songs target that dynamic, and then you start making decisions about what ones are the most popular to have for a sing-song toward the end of the set, or there's a lot of boxes that need it. But Neil really does it well. It's like his ability to write a song and his set list ability as well.
What dictates it, Neil?
Oh, there's obviously songs that you think, and especially in this context, it's a kind of a retrospective set list in the sense we're playing most of the songs, if not all of the songs that people would maybe expect to hear.
Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes in.
I think familiarity, sometimes there is a song or two which will remain nameless, which I would say honestly I'm a little bit sick of, but they're not, only because they're very popular, but I wouldn't consider them my best songs. There is, on the other hand, Don't Dream It's Over. I really enjoy singing it every time I do it, really, and it, I'm super pleased and proud that the song that is almost the most identifiable for us.
Do you get a lot of energy back from the audience, though? Like, when you hear 10,000 people at the end of Better Be Home Soon all sing Better Be Home Soon, like, that must be amazing.
Nice.
Actually.
It was very nice. It is amazing, yeah. You don't tire of that either, when people sing really strongly back at you, and in harmony sometimes, which is even better. If you coax them, there's a song, 4 Seasons in One Day, which when gently coaxed, the audience will generally sing in 3-part harmony.
One more for the brave souls.
I guess I refer to it as like the collective yes, and it's what brings people to sporting events. If you ever watch the soccer in the UK and you hear that sound of the but it's not a it's a yes, and sometimes you can actually be at that point when you're playing really, really well and everybody is singing, and then there's a big fist in the air at a certain point that actually is a wave of something. A giant chi wave hitting you.
So it's a marvelous thing, and I never really forget that, how blessed, because it's not entirely without angst being music, and actually the making of music, trying to devise, because it's a mystery, it'll remain a mystery forever, really. But there's so much joy comes from the moments of transcendence, like, for instance, when audiences sing back. Even
with all the experience you guys have had, is it still really that mysterious? Over time, it doesn't demystify that, okay, this is what makes a great song?
Yeah, it's just as mysterious as it ever was. In some ways harder to get started than it ever was, because you feel like you've to some degree defined your territory. So you're always looking to move outside that somehow. I mean, some songs do come extremely quickly, and they're rare, but they do, and they're usually very good. It's often a good sign. There is other ones that are equally as good that are very difficult and take a long time. And the art of it is getting it to a point where it sounds like the easiest thing in the world or the most natural thing in the world for people, but there's sometimes been some painstaking shifting of commas.
How do you know when to stop tinkering with the commas? Because you can just tinker forever, really.
It's a difficult thing to do. I have a tendency to over polish sometimes, so I recognise that. I'm trying not to.
Even with anything like that, with the process, you need to take a break and then do something that dwarfs the experience or the privilege of being able to work in your studio or your workroom for a long period of time on one particular object or song or whatever you're making. But being able to go surfing for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then come back and actually hear it completely differently. Or whatever that physical practice that you might do, whether it be yoga or Pilates.
Is it awkward, Nick? Say if Neil comes in with a song and you've got your own thoughts about, that works, that doesn't work. Is it awkward when someone presents something that they have created and slaved over to then say, doesn't work so well, or here's what I think we need to do?
Yeah, no, you have to always time the point at which you're possibly going to impose a culling, if you will. You have to work on everything with equal amount of enthusiasm to bring anything forward when you're in a collaborative or collective process. So that's just over the years you learn when to keep your mouth shut.
The good thing about a band is that if I had an idea that I bring to a rehearsal, it can actually inspire and motivate me to finish it, because you let a band get a hold of it, and quite often that is exciting, and you get a feeling for the good ideas. What are the good ideas? Sometimes it doesn't happen that naturally.
With that point about the machinations of a band, you guys were two of the founding members. You've had other new members come in since. Is it more important in having a workable band to go for people with the right mix of personalities? Like, would you, for example, trade off musical skill to get someone that you think, I'm happy to go on the road with you for 8 months of the year?
Everything's a factor. I mean, there are bands who can't stand each other and still manage to go out on the road and travel in separate vehicles. I don't really get that, because to me, part of the enjoyment of a band is that close sense of camaraderie. It's interesting
that thing, you say about bands who hate each other. I mean, I guess maybe it's creative tension or something with people that aren't like-minded.
There's a lot of ego in bands, and it's amazing how many bands that are together in their 20s, if they achieve some degree of success, are still arguing about ridiculous things in their 50s and 60s to do with that 10 years where they were together. It's amazing how powerful that is.
See, it's like, because if you've formed a band in your late teens or your early 20s, it's like you've married your high school sweetheart, but then you can never get divorced if the band becomes big, because then you're
always connected.
With
That's true. And I just think there's a romance and you set your dreams at that point in your life, and if you do go on and be a band and you become successful, even though it's not all what you imagined, and sometimes a lot more tedious for certain people, it's still that kind of period where you set your course for your life and your dreams were laid, and so that's very emotional for people, and there's a lot of ego becomes attached to it.
The original Opera House concert that you guys did, or the farewell concert you guys did, has gone down in Australian history as one of the great cultural events. Did you have any qualms about revisiting that?
I had qualms about doing that one in the first place. Our manager at the time, Grant Thomas, thought it was a great, way to go out with a bang. Actually, it wasn't even originally going to be our last show, but I thought it was a bit too grandiose, and maybe we should do somebody's lounge room and just be, But he was right, and I was wrong. And in this case, I was well disposed towards the idea because of that. It seemed like it had an appropriateness. There was an anniversary attached, 20 years obviously, and 30 years since the band started, and we weren't going to play anywhere else. This was just focused around the ARIAs. It just all felt right.
You guys are as experienced as performance as you are, sitting here, now a few days out from the concert. Is it just something that you look forward to, or is there ever still an element of, I hope we're going to pull this off?
I've been waking up every morning just suddenly remembering what I'm about to do and just thinking,
That could be quite
just
nauseous
getting-
on the day.
Just getting so, waking from lovely dreams and then suddenly remembering, oh my God, I've got to go to rehearsal and be that guy again, but look, the excitement of, just when the four of us get together, we make a sound that is just so simple. It's like falling off a log, really. I mean,
Just feel like
it's
home?
not, yeah, it's not difficult at all. And if we just focus and, he's great at remembering everything. I don't know how he does it, but I get slightly distracted. I have to stay on the straight and narrow.
Words fail me occasionally. You can usually rely on the front row to mouth the words to you when you forget. They certainly look at each other when you sing the wrong word. I noticed that. I'll sing the second verse instead of the first, and they'll be going, that's not right.
Guys, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much.
And you.